Behind the AfD's strong showing is a dose of despair sprinkled with a leavening of anger. The dynamics of populism, familiar from elsewhere, have some specifically German dimensions. In what was the communist East, the party won 3 districts and came second across a swathe of others.
Ich denke, dass das Vertrauen einfach kaputt ist. Ja, es wurden andere Sachen versprochen und nicht eingehalten. Und jetzt sind halt viele Leute auch gerade zur AfD gegangen, haben die AfD gewählt, in der Hoffnung, dass diese es vielleicht besser machen. Also da steckt auch viel Frustration dahinter, Vertrauensbruch natürlich auch und ja.
Kommt sonst noch was dazu?
Christa Maul has run this cafe for nearly 20 years. She didn't vote AfD and finds their rise worrying, but the reasons for it come as no surprise.
Und ich denke, die sind einfach viel zu weit weg von den normalen Problemen der Menschen. Es sind so viele Leute ins Land gekommen, wir haben terroristische Anschläge, auch in Deutschland, nicht nur in Deutschland, aber überall in Europa. Und die Angst der Leute wächst einfach vor diesen Dingen. Ich glaube nicht, dass wir Leute nicht willkommen heißen, die da, wo sie mal zu Hause waren, keine Heimat mehr haben, sondern ich denke, es ist einfach die Angst, dass vieles aus den Rudern läuft und dass das auch ganz schlecht organisiert wird.
Around Frankfurt an der Oder, right on the border with Poland, immigration touches a nerve. And the AfD's answer to Germany's demographic decline, exhorting people to have children, has echoes of the 30s and the communist era. At the local party HQ, nobody was in after last night's celebrations. We have spoken to people who voted for the AfD, but none who'd go on camera. However, the grievances they cited are pretty similar to those you hear across the former East Germany. And they chime in with the AfD's messages. Islam does not belong in Germany. This one, an anti-EU one. Our land, our rules. And then finally, work has to be worthwhile. A message that plays on people's feelings that there aren't enough jobs around here. And those there are pretty rubbish.
Die AfD 13%.
In Berlin last night, the party faithful were in exuberant mood when the exit polls were published. But in the flush of victory, its first problems have emerged, with the party chair walking out this morning, part of a long simmering dispute between moderates and hardliners.
They're not Nigel Farage's sort of good old boys, you know, they're worse than that. There's something more sinister there. Not wanting to have black people as neighbours, being proud of Germany's achievement in World War II. And then when you confront them, they say, well, we didn't mean it like that. You know, we're really just bothered that these subjects aren't being discussed in Parliament. They have this two-facedness.
The mood was less ebullient at CDU headquarters last night. That's not to say that Angela Merkel's success in securing a 4th term as chancellor didn't prompt some celebratory toasts. But the results also brought some shocks.
Well, this was intended as a celebration, and it's turned into a bit more of a wake, frankly. And talking to party workers, they've said, no, we were expecting the AfD, the far-right party, to do very well because of the polls leading up to today. What's hit them harder has been the CDU's share of the vote, falling well below the symbolic 35% that was important to them. And that will make coalition building harder, and ultimately also it prompts questions about the future of Angela Merkel.
So now the Chancellor has to begin the seduction of unlikely political bedfellows required to build a viable coalition.
I think it's going to be very difficult. To bring them together will require skill of an order that perhaps Angela Merkel is the only one able to mobilize in Europe today.
And as the comings and goings of coalition negotiators begin, question follows question. Not just how will the smaller parties deliver their voters to their promised destinations, be that on green issues or a liberal platform, but also about the Chancellor's ability to manage the more complex dynamics of this new government.
She's in between a rock and a hard place. The point is, however, that the people within her own party and grouping, like for instance Mrs. Seehofer in Bavaria, who want her to move to the right, they've been clobbered even worse in this election. So where is the challenge coming from within her party? There's nothing there.
For the German mainstream, the election brings relief that the country remains on the right track. But Chancellor Merkel has been diminished by this vote, and as her fourth term gets underway, the questions will begin about who her successor might be and how they might hold the ring of German politics.